Good morning. It is another early morning. Gracie's so excited out here. Gracie normally eats right after she goes outside in the morning. Can you tell? She's excited. No. Today, I do not need to focus on watering all the plants because Matt already took care of that for me last night. So he's been doing that quite a bit. We found if we water before it really gets dark, maybe like an hour before it gets dark, it seems like it gives the plants enough time to soak in the water before it's nighttime and before they're cold, and they seem to be doing really well. And we're just trying to hypothesize why we aren't having too many bug issues lately. Should probably knock on wood here, huh? So maybe that's part of it. But I get to focus my energy elsewhere since he took care of that last night. So I decided it's finally time I take care of some of my herbs. So what I did is I grabbed one of my baskets and then just a whole bunch of cloth napkins. And this is so I can separate my herbs a little bit. And I'm just going to line my basket with the napkins so I don't have to bring out a bunch of things. Now ideally I could just harvest one herb at a time, but we've all seen how well that's going. So the first thing I'm cutting today is some lemon balm, which I've actually never grown before or harvested any. So I'm just going to be cutting some of these bigger leaves, and then I'll take care of drying it before I do anything else with it. So I don't know if this is a thing, but if there's any sort of like cleaner recipe for using lemon balm, because it just has that nice fresh lemon smell, would you leave a comment down below if you know anything about that? Because I feel like that would be something really fun to use it for. I also mentioned the use for cold sore, so I'm going to look into that a little bit more. And I know I can use it for teas and things, but I went ahead and harvested quite a bit so I can get it drying. And the mint in here I usually use fresh, so if I harvest any of that today, it'll just be a little bit. But I also have my parsley and my fennel in here, and I'm actually completely out of parsley in the house, so I'm going to harvest probably quite a bit of this. We've been using it as a green, but right now we're completely out of salad greens, and we just have spinach in the freezer. So I'm less likely to be needing it for salad, but I will need parsley. Dried parsley, I should say. In the past, I actually used carrot tops in place of parsley, which worked really well. My parsley is doing really well now, so I am going to harvest that instead. Oh, funny. This looks so much like cilantro right here. It's kind of yellow, but this is underneath my parsley. Doesn't that kind of look like a cilantro leaf? Can't really lay it out flat. Smells like parsley though. Now my fennel is flowering, but I don't have much for seed on it yet, so I'm gonna leave that. I want to collect fennel seed from it is my whole goal, but I've never cooked with fresh fennel other than just these sprigs this year. Kind of like this little, it looks like dill weed type thing, so I would love to get some big fennel too. I did tie it up with a rope. A few of you suggested that, but it keeps falling. It is just so much taller than any tomato I've ever grown. Well, not any, I should say. Most. There we go. I'm going to harvest a heavy amount off of my sage plant because this is something we use a lot. I actually used up all of our dried sage from last year when I was making bone broth this year. We'll be doing that again, so better I harvest a big amount off of this and need to harvest again. So my sage is growing right next to my oregano, and it was this way when it was in the greenhouse too. So my oregano is actually coming out of my sage plant at a couple spots. So since they're pretty easy to tell apart, I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest that oregano out of here. Now you might notice I'm picking a lot of just kind of the long stems rather than picking the leaves. Now a lot of these I'm not using the stems in any way, but there's a couple reasons you might want to pick it this way. Maybe you're going to hang your herbs to dry. In that case, it's nice to have the longer stems. Maybe you're like me and you're just in a hurry and it's a little quicker to cut it all on the stem right now. Or maybe it's just really hot outside and you want to be finished right away. So there's a couple reasons why you might want to pick your herbs all on the stem like this. I'm also going to pick my cumin today, and my cumin has some seeds, some that's already seeded, and my pot in general is a little underseeded. So some of this I have kind of let the seed fall back in the pot, hoping it grows a little bit more throughout the summer, and we end up with a little bit more. I'm up on my deck because this is where my basil is, and although we eat a lot of fresh basil, we use a lot of dried basil as well in Italian dishes, in our pizza sauce, and things like that, and it's nice to be able to grow it yourself. So I found the easiest way to harvest basil is to kind of find this clump of leaves and cut right underneath before the next leaves start, and it seems to make a new head right after that. Now I've made some pesto already this year. I actually made that garlic scape pesto a few of you recommended, and it was very delicious but very, very strong. I added quite a bit of basil to it to kind of calm it down a little bit. But there is still some in the freezer. We made some pizza with it. I'll add a picture if I can find it. But pesto is one of those things where I love it, but maybe not necessarily my kids' favorites. So sometimes just simply drying herbs is a better way for us to use them. Now if you want to pick just your leaves for drying, I think that's certainly fine. On the basil, I'd probably still pick it this way and then pick the leaves off. But if you want to pick just your leaves, maybe you are putting them in your dehydrator and it's just more convenient if you don't have all those stems in the house to deal with, you can certainly do that. I am not planning on hang drying at least most of this. I am planning on just air drying it all by laying it out on our herb rack. Looks like I got a basket of washing, doesn't it? Well, I have plenty more herbs that I could be harvesting. My chamomile and my calendula are up and they are looking beautiful. I'm not going to harvest any today simply because I did not use any that I harvested last year. And I'm going to enjoy the flowers because I think they're really beautiful. But maybe that will change. All time and want and need, you know. But speaking of time, I didn't harvest any thyme either. I haven't harvested from that yet, and it's flowering, so I don't know if I will. I certainly do use thyme in my cooking, so maybe it would be beneficial. But I hang these back up. I'm going to bring these herbs in. Kids should be getting up for the day, so I am going to probably spend some time with them, have a nice breakfast and things, and I will catch back up with you in a little bit. So it's a whole nother day, and I finally have all my herbs washed, dried, put up here. We've got our sage. I ended up picking that off the leaves. I did end up tossing a lot that had damaged. Quite a few of my sage did, but what I did the last time I dried sage was I bundled it up and just tied it, and that was what I was using for bone broth. And I think if I knew I was going to use it for bone broth, I would do that again because I'm not so worried about those bug-eaten ones as long as I've washed it. But this is sage that I'm going to just take, it's already pretty much dry, crumple it up in a jar, and then I'm going to save it that way. I've got my basil up here, and then those fennel seeds, and then these two racks are oregano, and this one, well, it looks like somebody put oregano down here, but this is parsley, and then I've got the lemon balm on the bottom. So the parsley, I left it on the stems, but I'm going to be able to go like this and take it off. Same with the oregano. And then the lemon balm, I just kind of was running out of time, so I washed it quick and put it on this bottom rack, and I really didn't have a chance to look it over. So I did notice there is some bug damage on these, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with the lemon balm yet. So I think I am going to probably have to pick through through those a little bit better before I get them jarred up. Some of these are already starting to dry, but I'm going to wait probably another day or two so that I can do them all at once. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'm glad you got to see me again. Bye.